We're going to talk about some high school football, and I've been involved in that the last few days. Last Wednesday, I told you, we talked about it yesterday. I was in Shawnee at OBU where they had a showcase camp involving the small college coaches and high school players, sophomores, juniors, seniors. And then I was at Oso Pogai's I-4 football showcase at Crossings Community on Monday, and God, a number of really good players there, and all the way from freshmen up to going into their senior year. So we had a lot of good folks, a lot of good players to take a look at, and that was a whole lot of fun because we haven't had many camps. Now we have a magazine to take a look at that previews. It is the football Bible for the state of Oklahoma going into every season. It is the Oklahoma Vype Oklahoma Pigskin Preview, brought to you by Austin Chadwick and Mark Rogers. He still has his name on there, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah, he does just enough to put his name on there.
Austin Chadwick joins us now, former University of Tulsa standout starting offensive lineman, and again, just a good all-around guy. One of my friends, and I'm proud to call him a friend. And I love working for the magazine. And let's hit on this first, Austin. The college stuff, because you've got a preview. I'm guessing that Oklahoma was done by their play-by-play voice.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
still
that's how we've always done it. Toby Rowland has been
Toby?
taking care of our OU content. Yep, for the last 5-6 years. Of course, you've been doing the OSU content for a long time, and then over here in Tulsa, John Hoover does our University of Tulsa content. So it works out pretty good, and we're able to give people kind of an in-depth look. Guys like you, I mean, there's nobody plugged into Oklahoma State athletics, especially football, like you are, Robert. And so, why not kind of hear it from the horse's mouth, if you will, and let you kind of give your synopsis. I know you talk about it every day, but there's some cool stuff you put in there. How OSU is handling different things with COVID, and obviously the team breakdown. So it's not just the all 368 high school teams that we have content and team previews of. It's also we give you the feel in the college side of things with OU, OSU, and Tulsa. And so it's a lot of fun. You know this as well as I do. It's a labor of love. You've been in the print industry. You understand it. But this is one of those types of magazines where there's just so much information that you still got to put it on paper, and you still got to put the magazine out, and people still want it, and they will take it with them, throughout the fall, wherever they go, however we're going to do football. And in your area, obviously North Oklahoma, we are distributing on-cues today in and around the Stillwater area. We'll be hitting Enid and down into your area where you are today in Kingfisher tomorrow. So people driving in and around Stillwater, you will be able to pick up the preview at those on-cue locations like we do every year. And Robert, we appreciate your help for helping us let everybody know about it.
Yeah, I already told them that you guys were hitting those areas today, and that they could get their magazine, sometime later today, if not right now. And if you're not just hankering to have it so bad, you can check first thing in the morning and almost be assured that your on cue will have a stock of the preview magazine. In the interest of transparency,
Right.
this magazine's like a lot of the others. Now the nationals like Lindy's and Athlon's. Phil Steele, by the way, is not out yet. He's delayed his printing because of COVID. But in the interest of transparency, I did get in touch with Austin and say, "Do you want me to redo this based on the not the COVID, but based on what went on in Stillwater later on with the One America News shirt and Chuba's text or tweet
and listen, this is the beauty of what we do and what I've been able to do with Vype for the last 15 years, Robert. You know this. We stick to sports, man, and so. The bottom line is, as it stands right now, Mike Gundy's the head coach of the University of Oklahoma State. I don't see that changing. and we're gonna give you the information on what's going to happen between the lines. That's what we do. And so it's if there are things here and there, whether it pertains to COVID or how that affects, what might happen during the season, of course, we're going to make sure we have all the information we can get out of that. But when it comes to some of the off the field stuff, we just don't mess with that stuff. You did your due diligence by saying, hey, do we need to adjust this in the magazine? And people don't pick up our magazine to read about what might be happening off the field, whether it be a player or a coach or anything like that. They pick up the magazine to read about what's going to happen on the field during the season. And so that's what, I kind of made that policy and said we're going to stick to that, and that's what we do best. And so that is it's a great preview on Oklahoma State. A lot of guys returning. Hopefully getting Tyron Wallace back, as you know, getting him back and healthy after his knee injury. I've had the same type of injury. And then obviously, Cuba Hubbard and the Cats, the backfield with OSU running the full cylinder. That's what you're going to see in this magazine. And, of course, Robert, you do a great job covering the defense, breaking that all down. And so that's what we stick to. So, yes. And you can always ask transparent questions because I am a transparent kind of guy.
Well, and you know what? Here's part of the reason I offered, Austin, because initially this was a misread deal across the country. It was tagged as a racial situation.
Right.
But I've been around the program. I know Mike Gundy. I see the way the kids are treated. Every kid on that team, no matter what he looks like, no matter what he plays, including whether he's a scholarship player or a walk-on. Mike's kind of been famous, and he's actually gained a lot of value out of it by the fact walk-ons get treated so well. They end up with really walk-ons that end up playing quite a bit and being pretty good players. So I knew that, but I also knew what was going to come out, and it did, that Mike is kind of, he's distanced himself a little bit. He
right.
kind of, and so that's what I think I would have written. And as it turns out, I think coming out today, I don't want to say it's old news or it's a story that's gone because I think it will, but I don't think it's the story it was when I made that offer. So I'm glad you turned me down. Basically, on that one.
and you're right. And here's the thing, Robert. You're so close to the program, you understand. And you're gonna gas me up a little bit when we talk about some of the stuff that's going on off the field. People with their opinions. Listen, Oklahoma State fans, they're they have experience dealing with your Pete Bamel type guys and your hit piece type guys, and so I think for the most part. People viewed the whole situation. It got out of hand real quick and snowballed. But at the same time, I'll just speak to you as a player. A lot of conversation comes in on player coaches and these types of things. What is a player's coach? People have no idea what the heck they're talking about if they've never played and they're trying to explain to you what a player's coach is. They have no idea. Okay, a coach is not there to be your friend. A coach is there to get you better, to prepare you for life, and to be a father figure in many cases for a lot of these guys who might not have a father figure. And so Mike Gundy has done that for 15 years, for crying out loud. And if you want to get into the integrity of Mike Gundy, there is a clear distinction in what Mike Gundy, how he handled a domestic abuse situation with Tyreek Hill. He went to the courthouse, looked the kid in the eye, kicked him off the team. That's simple. And there's a clear distinction with maybe another school here in the state of how they handled a domestic dispute or an assault issue with Joe Mixon. So, listen, it opens up a can of worms, but I get so frustrated when I hear people try to discredit Mike Gundy, try to discredit what he's done. And I'll tell you this, Robert, too, and you know this. I don't care if it's Bear Bryant, I don't care if it's Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, the greatest coaches we've ever had in college football. If they coach long enough, I can find 50 to 100 guys who play for them who hate their guts. That's how this works. That's always how it works. There's always going to be guys who don't like the coach they play for. Or, later on down the road, if the coach is still there, the coach didn't offer their kid or something, or there's a reason why. And so you get all this garbage that just comes out, and I'm like, wait, time out. If Mike Gundy is admitting that he's going to have to change a couple of things and kind of get back to maybe not being so distant, and he's going to do his due diligence, and some things got brought to light that he wants to correct. That's great. But to go and have a full-on indictment and referendum on Mike Gundy and what kind of coach he's been for 15 years? Are you kidding me? I know guys who played for the guy, and I know guys who played for Les Miles. And the guys that played for Les Miles, they haven't talked to the guy in 15 years. You know, so from that standpoint, you're going to get me all charged up because I'll pound the table for Mike and what he's done with that program. And obviously, do you know, Robert, over the last 15 years since he's been coaching at OSU, only 12 programs in the country have won more games? 12! Yeah. What are we talking about here? So, you know, as far as how he does things, you know, he's a little unorthodox. We understand that. We get it. But at the same time, you know, as far as him being a coach, being a guy that's raised a lot of guys, you know, and helped guys become men and help guys become productive citizens to society and defending players. I mean, for crying out loud, before all this stuff happened, Mike Gundy was a staunch defender, and that was his reputation because everybody remembers the press conference where he defended his quarterback, and everybody remembers what this guy will say when it comes to defending his players, especially in the media. So it's just, I'm sorry to go off a rant here, but that's the kind of stuff I look at, and I'm just like, that's so garbage. People don't understand. They don't understand what it's like to be in the lines, to play, and to grow up and have to have a coach tell it like it is and make you better as a player, as a student, and ultimately as a productive citizen in society. And Mike Gundy's track record is just as good as just about any other college coach in the last 15 years.
All right, yeah, and I did not mean to send it that way. In fact, if you got time, I'm going to take you to the top of the hour because I want to talk some high school. But let's jump over to that. I've been at a couple of camps, Austin, the last few days.
Yep.
I've talked to, you know, mainly coaches on the west side. There were some east side kids here, but the coaches that were around, you know, were the city area coaches and some of the coaches like over in Seminole and that part of the state. And there's a real concern, and right now there's a real. In fact, I asked Roger Pfeiffer, who's the OC at Edmond Santa Fe, the other day. I said, "Have you seen the mask they're going to use in college?" And he said, "I haven't." And I said, "So you don't know if you guys are going to have those ready for high school?" And he goes, "Robert, I don't." He goes, "It's amazing how." You know, right now everybody has their own idea on what kind of football season we might have, and that it's not like there's a grand plan out there. And he goes, I've even talked to the OSSAA, and you know, and they're still asking questions. So, what are you hearing on the east side with the dynamic leadership like Bill Blankenship at Owasso, and then you know Kurt Ferentz at Union, and Jinx and all of Bixby, Lauren Montgomery? What are you hearing from these guys?
Well, it's the same type of deal. I think everybody is steadily taking the precautions that they can. I know this for a fact that when guys show up to work out every day, you know, they're doing temperature checks, and they're doing what their district is asking them to do, and really in a lot of cases mandating them to do. And from the standpoint of how to approach this, you know, it was David Jackson, the OSSA. They're put under a pretty tough situation. Because, I mean, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, if they come in and start having regulations and start mandating all the participants within the OSSAA activities to do certain things and it becomes mandate, they're going to get ripped for that. And some people might like it, but there's going to be a whole lot of people that disagree with it. You know, case in point, there are hundreds of school districts across Oklahoma that are in rural areas that they have no confirmed cases of COVID, and COVID's not even in the town, or it's hardly in the county. And so you're going to get that kind of situation to where, you know, what do we do there when coaches, I mean, I talked to a coach from Idabel, for crying out loud. He's like, Austin, we haven't even had a COVID case in Idabel. And so from that standpoint, you know, the OSSAA had to do this the right way, and there was no right answer. It was going to be, how are you going to handle this? And so the OSSAA's point right now is we have to leave this up to the districts. We cannot force superintendents and administrators at schools to do certain things that they might not want to do, or we can't force administrators and administrators at districts to play or to approach athletics if they don't feel comfortable. So we have to leave it up to the districts. And I think, it's probably the most prudent thing to do. So with that being said, nobody really knows what this looks like. The only thing the OSSA obviously controls is play and non-district games and district games and things like that. And so I think that everybody's just kind of waiting and seeing, and it's okay to wait and see. It's okay to see maybe what happens with cases in Oklahoma, how it affects things. But one thing I will say, Robert, and one thing that's been a little bit encouraging in all this is that, 2 or 3 months ago, when people were getting diagnosed with COVID, it was a panic. Almost a death sentence. Like, what are we going to do? Somebody's got COVID, shut down the whole school, shut down the whole university. We saw that happening. And nowadays, I think, the society and the American people in general are much more, I'm not going to say resilient, but they understand that this is the new normal. We got to live with this, and we can't be shutting down everything. We can't shut down everything when we're dealing with something like COVID. And so with that being said, people don't panic. If a kid has symptoms or has tested positive, even being asymptomatic, they go through their protocol. They quarantine the kid. They're not allowed in and around the facility. Some districts handle it different than others. But overall, I think everybody understands that that's the risk we're all going to take, and not just with activities or with school in general, but just living our lives. We get it. We understand. And so from that standpoint, it is a little bit encouraging because of the mass panic that was going on in March and April. There was no way, if that was going on right now, that we would have any kind of football season. But now that people understand the disease a little bit more, now that people understand that it's not a death sentence by any means, especially for the younger population, that this is just something we're dealing with. We're going to deal with it the best way we can, and that fact alone gives us a chance to have football. And another thing, Robert, the UIL down in Texas, they just opened up their voluntary workouts, which basically they're summer pride workouts for all their high schools around the state of Texas. They opened those up on Monday. So Texas is kind of full bore here, even though they're dealing with the cases in a spiked manner in Texas. They're doing the same thing. They're leaving it up to the districts, and they're allowing them to continue to start working out in the summertime to prepare for a season. And if the UIL is going to play, I can guarantee you that the OSSA is going to be probably right there with them, and there's not going to be any kind of – it might be a little bit different. They might have to change some schedules. They might have to do some different things. But overall, I'm pretty confident, just like Lincoln Riley said yesterday, we're going to have football. And so and what that looks like and participation and the attendance and all that, I don't know. And again, I think you just kind of leave it up to the districts and kind of let the schools figure it out and what's best for them, because all districts are totally different, especially those that play each other that have to travel a long way. So
we're going to take a break here real quick and come back and talk just football, not COVID, nothing else. But I will say this, it is breaking all over the news, and reports are the governor of the state of Oklahoma, that Kevin Stitt, has contracted COVID-19, the coronavirus. So that is being reported pretty widely in the ranks of the news outlets here in the state of Oklahoma. Don't know that the governor has himself come out and confirmed that. Of course, we do know Larry Scott, the same day the Pac-12 went to conference games only, Larry Scott, the commissioner of the Pac-12, announced he had contracted COVID-19. So we're going to come back with Austin Chadwick, who is COVID-19 free as far as we know, and has a magazine that you're going to want to read because it is the football Bible in the state of Oklahoma. It's Austin Chadwick and Mark Rogers' Vype Oklahoma Pigskin Preview in Stillwater. It's coming to you today at the On Q stores. Back right after this. Austin Chadwick is with us from Austin Chadwick and Mark Rogers' Oklahoma Vype Pigskin Preview magazine, which is stocked now in Stillwater. And those magazines are moving to be stocked in Perkins, Wellston, areas that direction, Cushing, so forth from Stillwater. So Stillwater, you can hit your On Q and pick up your. You know what? Here's the other thing. I didn't mention this to Austin, who's with us. He probably should have printed a lot of extra issues, because if we don't play this football season, this will be one heck of a souvenir keepsake. I mean, this will be history making. So you want to pick up your issue, period, but might want to pick up a couple of extra because it could become a something that becomes extremely valuable based on history. Um, the the breaking news is that Governor Kevin Stitt, the governor of the state of Oklahoma, has contracted COVID. That's being reported widely on your news outlets around the state. So we wanted to let you know. No confirmation yet from the governor himself. All right, Austin's back with us. And with all the previews that you have on all the high schools across the state, one of the new things that this may be the second, third year you've done it, but the top 100 players in the state, that's become one of the cool things in the magazine, and it's something kids strive to get their name in.
Yeah, you know, it was funny. We've been doing the top 100 for about 10 years, and the reason why it's getting a lot more run, I think, this year than any other year, is because we're actually ranking the players for the first time. And so we have a ton of players that are top 100. We call honorable mentions. There's about 100 players there, and these are kids that are great players. A lot of underclassmen, and then we have our actual Vype top 100, and we rank every kid from 1 to 100. And this is we explain it being fully transparent here. We are not a recruiting service. We're not a recruiting site. Obviously, you take into account, some kids and what offers they have from what schools gives you a pretty good idea of how good they are. But at the same time, we have no problem, taking a kid out of, Frederick, Oklahoma that might have taken the Bombers to a state championship and rushed for 3,000 yards. Well, he's not a D1 caliber kid, but as far as a high school football player, he's pretty darn good. And so we always try to rank our players how they pertain to high school football and how they pertain to being the most valuable player on their team and in their class, and that's how we do it. And so, with that being said, we've for the first time ever, we finally ranked all 100 players. And kids have always asked us, if they're in the top 100 over the last years, previous years, they said, what number am I? And
Yeah.
so we finally said, okay, well, we're going to rank these guys, and it starts with the kid we got on the cover. I don't know if you've ever seen this kid play.
Yeah, I
Kendall
have.
Daniels from
Yeah.
Beggs, Oklahoma. Robert, this kid he's a great kid, and I've met him a couple of times. He comes to the photo shoot, and I think the kid's still growing. He's a good half an inch to an inch taller than I am. Well, I'm 6'4", and so from that standpoint, he is
And he's a corner.
real. Oh yeah. Well, safety and they'll play him all over on the defense. Of course, he'll come in at receiver. He helped lead Beggs to a state championship 2 years ago as a sophomore. And then they got beat by the eventual 2A state champion Metro Christian Patriots in the semifinals last year. And Metro Christian had a quarterback in Asher Link that is now on to the Air Force Academy. And so, this kid is legit. He has an offer from just about every school in the country you can think of, from LSU to Georgia to Alabama,
Yeah.
Michigan, Florida State, anybody you can think of. And so he's a great kid. His production is off the charts, interceptions, reception, all that stuff. So, we start with him at number one, and then it goes on down from there. A lot of OSU commits here. Colin Oliver is our number 3 player in the state. He's an OSU commit. You've seen this kid out of Edmond, Santa Fe. He is a good-looking dude now.
Hey,
And,
hey,
and
Austin,
he's a ball player.
you want to know something? Because I did the tally. I've seen 9 of the top 10 play in person, 16 of the top 20 play in person, and 24 of the top 30. And I'm sure there's guys that have seen all of them, but
Right.
I felt pretty good about seeing 9 of the 10, 14, or yeah, 16 of the top 20 and 24 of the top 30. I feel like I've made my rounds around Oklahoma enough.
It is. That's pretty good, man, because there's a lot of people who haven't done that. I mean, so.
Hey, let me tell you, a guy you've got in your top 10, Bryce Stevens from John Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
was at a camp he was at on Monday night. He ran a 4 hand time, but he ran a 4.37 and a
Yep.
4.38, and then tore it up in 1-on-1s and 7-on-7s. He is the John Marshall kid. He's electric. Another kid I saw just the other day is I'm looking. He's down on your list. He's 24. Chris McClellan, a junior defensive
Mm-hmm.
end out of Tulsa Edison, and you may not like this question I asked him, but I said, I said, have you been getting more recruiting from high schools or colleges? And he laughed. He goes, Mr. Allen, you know the Tulsa area. I said, yes, I do. And he goes, yeah, but he goes, I'm at Edison. Those are my guys. Those are my
Yep.
coaches.
Yep.
I'm loyal. And he goes, I could have gone and played anywhere out in the suburbs, but I'm an Edison Eagle. And I said, well, I admire that. But let me tell you something, Austin. He is what you want. He
Oh,
looks.
no doubt.
He is
He's
the
got. I
he
mean,
is the striking defensive end.
yeah, and comes in about 6'3" and a half, 270. He's a kid, Robert. He's already got a Nebraska offer. He's only junior. And Tony Daniels is the head coach over at Edison. He took him to the playoffs last
Yes,
year. Of course,
and
Savion
he
Morris
talks
was the running back.
glowingly about his head coach.
Yes, and Tony Daniels has been a pretty good name in Tulsa for a while. He's done a great job in TPS, and he's done a great job with Edison, getting them back on the map. And Edison has had some great players over the years, and they've got a handful of guys. They really do. And so I think with the core guys that they have, I think Chris McClellan. I mean, those are his guys. He grew up with those guys, and that's who he's going to play for. Dude, there's a lot of guys just all over the state. You had mentioned Bryce Stevens and his speed. I mean, he's electric, and probably one of the guys that sticks out to me, and I've seen him play. I've watched him kind of grow up as a kid. Gentry Williams. He played quarterback for Booker T last year, and he's an athlete. He's the fastest kid in the state, bar none. I mean, this kid is an AAU track kid. Runs 100, runs a 200. I mean, this kid is lightning. I mean, as he continues to mature, he's going to have NFL caliber speed. And as that you get into that 4.3, 4.4 range, and it is lightning fast. And so, not only him though. When you look at this overall, and some of the players that come to mind, and some guys that are, we saw one of the kids that Kenyatta Wright had out of Vian last year move on and play in college, and now his defensive tackle son, 6'1", 270 pounds. He's just a crazy good football player, award daddy,
Solomon.
I like to call him. And what's great about him is he looks just like his daddy.
He does.
So, from that standpoint,
he does.
It'll be a lot of fun. And I can't remember, is he committed to OSU? I think he's got an OSU offer.
Texas Tech. Solomon's
Texas Tech,
going to Texas Tech. And before we let you go, I think Quantrell Walker and Tevin Williams. And that's Tevin Williams Jr. His dad played OSU. Tevin's committed to Baylor. Quantrell is the running back at Stillwater, and they're both in your top 50. So wanted to mention those guys. So you can get your hands on the magazine, and Stillwater, you got a couple of players there in the top 50 list that you can be really proud of.
I'll tell you what, buddy, we'll talk again as the season gets closer. We'll kind of break down that 6A2 and see if as Tucker has graduated, Gunnar Gundy and some guys, they got a lot of guys coming back. And so
Caleb Allen, the quarterback, will be pretty good. Yep. They'll be good. Bixby's going to be good. And here's my plug as we let you go. Del City is going to have a little heavier hand in that. They got beat by Bixby in the semis last year, but Del City's got a squad. Del City,
you've been talking about them for 2 years, and they've got some guys. When we did our top 100 shoot down in Oklahoma City, we had about 4 or 5 guys show up from Del City, and they are good-looking kids, and of course with a good coach there, and no doubt. And so I think it'll be fun to see. We'll get on again and talk more about the classes, and we'll break those down. But I appreciate the plug, buddy. I always appreciate all your help, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
I appreciate you staying on for a whole half hour. Again, Austin Chadwick, the magazine's in Stillwater. It's rapidly getting statewide. Got to get your hands on it. Thanks, Austin.
Appreciate it, buddy.
All right. We need to take a time.